Hello and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm Cassidy. If it's not, thanks for always tuning into my videos. Today we are going over my 2022 releases that I'm interested in. I wasn't going to do one of these videos because I feel like I see the same books put on every single list. So I tried to have some that I think I haven't seen that much that I'm really interested in. I hope that maybe you are also interested in some of these books. Here we go. Also, just most likely won't get to them this year because I'm that kind of person. Okay, so the first one is really obvious. I am very excited for the Discord of Gods by Jen Lyons, which comes out April 26th. This is the last book in the Course of Dragons series. Read the fourth book still, and then the fifth book is the last book. Really not going to say much about this. I love the Course of Dragons. The Runic Kings is incredible. It follows Kieran, who just finds out that he is actually a descendant of one of the ruling political families and doesn't really want to be one. And you're following just his life journey because things start to happen to him and things start to go really wrong in his life. The way this book is told is really everything. It's really convoluted, but we do have two different timelines going, and one timeline is point B to point C, and the other timeline is point A to point B, and then they match up at point C, and then there's a narrator overarching it. And I highly suggest the audiobook as well as the physical book and doing both at once for this, but it's just so good. I rant about this all the time. I love this book, this series, so I'm not going to go really on about it, but it is one of my highly anticipated ones this year. The next one is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This comes out July 7th. I have read every single Riley Sager book. It is very hit or miss for me, but I keep reading them because the hits are hits and the misses are misses. So I just want more hits. The Last Time I Lied is a hit and I loved it, where Final Girls is a miss. So I'm just continually interested in picking up Riley Sager's books. They are just really easy to get through, and I do enjoy a thriller from time to time, so I'll continue probably picking up his books forever. This one follows Casey, who is a widowed actress, and she spends all of her time with a pair of binoculars and drinking alcohol, looking across at her neighbors and watching their life. He is an old TV actor and she's a model. They're hot and rich, and she just literally spends all her free time watching them. Creepy, but I'm here for it. When one day she saves Catherine from drowning in the lake and they start to become friends, she starts to learn that their marriage isn't perfect. It's not what she thought it out to be, and something happens. Catherine goes missing and Casey has to get down to the bottom of it, and she kind of just starts figuring out dark secrets as she goes. Sounds good. Another one that I'm really interested about is The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the fourth book in the From Blood and Ash series. It comes out March 15th, so soon, so I really should get on the prequel series because I think I have to read that first. Again, I'm not going to say much because it's a fourth book. It's a fantasy romance. From Blood and Ash follows Poppy, who is the maiden, which means she's not allowed to be touched. She's not allowed to have pleasure. She's really not allowed to have friends. It's a really boring life, truthfully, because she's destined for greater things. When something happens to one of her guards and she gets a new guard who starts to kind of cross some lines and some feelings start to happen, and the tension and the chemistry is just really good in this series. I didn't overly enjoy the third book in this series. It was still good, but not great. But I'm very excited for the fourth book. We have definitely the third book was plot heavy compared to the other two, but I think going into the fourth book I am expecting a little bit more plot, but I'm also really just expecting a joining, and if the joining doesn't happen, I might have to stop reading these books. I'm telling you, the joining must happen. Another weird one for me because it's fantasy romance, but I am very excited for this. And back to heavy fantasy, I feel I've been seeing this book everywhere, but I still wanted to put on here The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan, which comes out February 22nd, which is really close to now. The Justice of Kings follows Sir Conrad Vonville, who is the Emperor's Justice, which really makes him detective, judge, and executioner, and what he says is law, essentially. When he starts to go out on a mission, I'm thinking, he finds that his authority is starting to get a challenge to it, and while he's out, he kind of unravels the plot points and some sneakies, a conspiracy theory that could take down the Emperor and the justice system, and chaos will reign. Sounds good. I wanted to be a lawyer, fun fact, before I decided I didn't like school. So this also really interests me with the whole justice idea of it. Also, I really like this cover, and I've been seeing people read arcs and I've heard really good things, so I'm really excited about this one. Another one is Upgrade by Blake Crouch, which Another one. Another one is Upgrade by Blake Crouch, which comes out July 19th. And this is a sci-fi. Most of his books I found have been a sci-fi thriller that I've read. I read Recursion and Dark Matter by Blake Crouch a couple years ago, and I loved them both, so I'm very excited there's a new one coming. I will say I'm not heavily intrigued by the plot I'm hearing about this one, but with how much I love Recursion, and Dark Matter was pretty good too, but Recursion's like one of my favorites, I'm willing to give it a try, and I'm still excited for it. So we have Logan, who gets infected by a virus. There's some smoke bombs going off in a basement. He's like kidnapped, blah, blah, blah. There is a scythe, which is a gene editing tool used to like take the virus out. And so when he wakes up, he's getting like a clean bill of health from the doctors. But he starts to realize that he's slowly getting smarter and smarter and smarter, and that something with that gene editing happened. And then something happens and he has to save the world. I think from like, if the gene editing tool gets into the wrong hands, like this could be not good, but then the world is hunting him because he's super smart. I don't know. I'm willing to give it a try, and it sounds slightly interesting to me, but also a little unsure, but like, I feel like Blake Crouch can't do wrong after Dark Matter and Recursion. Back to fantasy, we have Scorpica by Greer/G.R. Malcaster, which comes out February 22nd. I have a lot of February 22nd releases, apparently. This is about a matriarchal society, which already I'm women power, I'm there, like, screw the men. And what happens is centuries-long peace is broken when a drought of women being born happens. So there's no girls being born in this world. They're a drought. And it stretches generations. And what happens is it cascades into a bunch of issues of politics and chaos between the 5 queendoms of the world. It also follows a bunch of POVs, which has me invested in it, so I need to read. It follows a warrior queen who must rise from childbirth bed to fight for her life and her throne. Solid. A healer in hiding, desperate to protect the secret of her daughter's explosive power. More solid. A queen whose desperation to retain control leads her to risk using the darkest magic. I'm really in for that one. A near immortal sorcerer, a demigod, powerful enough to remake the world for her own ends. Amazing. And the generation of last-born girls. So I'm guessing all of those are last-born girls, but it's just following that generation. The ones born just before the drought, who must bear the hopes and traditions of their nations if the queendoms are to survive. This sounds so cool, and like, most epic fantasy are heavily about men, and they are ruled by men. So the matriarchal society, I love it. I'm in. And then we have City of Dusk by Tara Sim, which comes out March 22nd. I am going to read the synopsis for this because I feel like the synopsis does do a really good job. Set in a gorgeous world of bone and shadow magic, of vengeful gods and defiant chosen ones, the City of Dusk is the first in a dark epic fantasy trilogy that follows the 4 heirs of 4 noble houses, each gifted with a divine power, as they form a tenuous alliance to keep their kingdom from descending into a realm-shattering war. The 4 realms, life, death, light, and darkness, all converge on the City of Dusk. For each realm there is god, and for each god there is an heir. But the gods have withdrawn their favor from once vibrant and thriving city, and without it, all the realms are dying, unwilling to stand by and watch the destruction. The 4 heirs, Risha, a necromancer struggling to keep the peace, Angelica, an elementalist with her eye set on the throne, Thaisa, a shadow-wielding rogue with rebellion in her heart, and Nick, a soldier who struggles to see the light, will sacrifice everything to save the city, but their defiance will cost them dearly. And from what I read about this, I think we're following 4 girls, but I could be wrong. But if we are following 4 girls, I am more inclined to like it too. Yeah, I also feel like that like sounds so good. And I mean, I love noble houses and following different people, multi-POV'd, epic fantasy, here for it. A thriller is The Overnight Guest by Heather Godonkoff, which is coming out sometime in January. I just said January 22. It actually might already be out. This one follows a writer who was snowed up in like this house that they decided to write in, where there have been 2 past murders in this house, and they know it, but they're like, the more inspiration for me. When suddenly a child shows up outside the window, the writer decides to go in and like take this child in and start to care for them, and things really start to happen in the house, and the writer realizes that they might not be as alone as they thought they were snowed in that house. I love an isolation thriller, so I'm here for this one. Literally in my thing it says, child shows up, shit gets real. So that's what I'm expecting. Another epic fantasy is The Bladed Faith by David Dalgish, which is coming out April 5th. This one follows a usurped prince who, when he was really young, saw his parents die, his gods be murdered, and was kidnapped by the people who did that. So now he's been living his life as a political prisoner, essentially, in their like castle, in their realm, when suddenly he's given the chance to escape when a mysterious group of revolutionaries show up looking for like a figurehead. They want someone to be the unparalleled hero and assassin of all these old tales and like really like spark up the, the revolution, and quickly finds out it's not all that it seems. Creating the illusion of a hero is the work of many, and Cyrus will soon discover the true price of his vengeance. I have not seen a lot of talk about this one, so I went and was reading like reviews, and lots of people said it's really dark. It's showing the brutality of what happens when people come and invade, which is great because it's not nice what we do to people. Not nice at all, and I'm really excited to read about it. It's kind of what I liked about the Poppy War, is that brutality of what actually happens when the force comes from over here and is like, we are better than you, you can submit to us. Love that. So I think I will also love that in this. And I'm also just really excited for it. And I haven't heard anyone talk about it. It's an Orbit book, and I think most of the epic fantasies on this book are actually from Orbit. I quickly am realizing that I love Orbit books. And I mean, I also love Tor books, but I think Orbit really has my heart. And then I'm going to just quickly go over some that I feel like everybody knows about, but I am very excited for. We have Babel by R.F. Kuang. I couldn't have a list without this. I actually have not a lot of interest in the summary for this book. I'm not a big dark academia girl. I like it, but I don't ever love it, so I'm unsure. But I told myself that I would read anything R.F. Kuang comes out with because of how amazing the story is, how amazing it's told. So I will be getting that as soon as I can just to read it, and who knows, I might be surprised because I love R.F. Kuang's writing and her storytelling ability and the way that she puts like a real history into it. Just like, it hurts me, but it hurts, like, it's so good. So I am excited about that. I'm not really gonna go into details on these ones because I feel like everybody knows what they're about. Babel is, I say this as I'm about to go look it up. It's actually, I always want to say Babel, but I think it's Babel. Pretty much, I just know it's dark academia. It's good. Then I have Gallant by V.E. Schwab, which I'm really looking forward to. I have only read the Vicious and Vengeful series by V.E. Schwab. I did really like it, and I have A Darker Shade of Magic on my TBR. Like, I own it thanks to lovely Bex at Bewitched Bex, who gifted it to me for Christmas, and she was an angel. And I also have This Savage Song, and I want to read all of those. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But I feel like I'll get to Gallant before this. I just remember someone telling me what Gallant was about and being like, this is so good. Gallant comes out March 1st, by the way. Gallant follows Olivia Pryor, who was grown up in like a boarding school, and all she has of her past is like journals her mother wrote. When she gets a mysterious invite to Gallant, and she goes, but no one's expecting her there, and everyone's kind of like a little rude to her, but she doesn't care because she decides it feels like home, and she starts to like find out the mystery of like where her dad went, what happened to all her family, in the, I don't know if it's a school or a house. I think it's a school, but not really sure. And there's like, I think that there's ghouls and like the dark figure. Just sounds good. I'm excited about this one. I think it's YA, but I could be wrong. And then another one that I'm really excited about is the second Clown in the Cornfield book by Adam Cesar. I loved Clown in the Cornfield this year, and it's called Clown in the Cornfield, Friendo Lives, and I'm very excited for it. It comes out August 23rd, so it'll probably be a October read, which is when I read the first one. The first book follows, it's like a slasher film. We're following these kids that are in a cornfield. Like, if you've ever gone to like a corn maze, this is kind of what I'm picturing. And there's a clown that's trying to kill them, essentially. And it's just like really slasher, and it was fun. It is a YA horror, so it's not like super scary. It was just a good time, and it just reminds me of every slasher film ever, and I love slasher films, so I'm very excited to read that one too. Other than that, that's my entire list for you today. I do have a Goodreads little thingy that is 2022 releases, and there are a couple more on there that I didn't say in this list, and I do constantly update it if I figure out things that I'm interested in later on. So you are welcome to follow me on there and see all the books that I'm interested in. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video and you would like to leave me a comment to say that you were here, you can leave me an emoji. Leave me a flower emoji. And as I said, my Goodreads, my Bookstagram, my book Twitter, and my beauty channel are all linked in the description bar below. Have yourself a wonderful day. Take care.